Karunya Murtaye Sri Bhagavata Madhurya Gita Jnana Pradayine Gaura Sri Rupa Siddhanta Saraswati Nishevine Radha Krishna Padambojo Ringaya Gurave Namaha Devam Divyatanum Suchandra Vadanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sad Ekavaranam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vandetam Subhadam Mad Eka Sharanam Nyasi Swaram Sridharam Sri Siddhanta Saraswati Ti Vidito Gaudiya Gurvanvaye Bhato Bhano Riva Prabhata Gagade Yogoda Sankirtanai Maya Vaditi Mingilo Daragatan Udrita Jivaniman Krishna Prema Sudabdi Gahana Sukam Pradat Prabhum Tam Bhaje Sripad Guru Varga Ki Jai. You ready, Prabhu? Shri Sripad Jivanamritam Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Okay. So, reading Prabhupada Jivanamritam, 9th chapter, words of nectar from the Supreme Lord, Bhagavad Vachanamritam. Bhagavad, the Lord from the Lord, Vachanamritam, words of nectar. And he's been citing, Guru Maharaj has been using Bhagavad Gita verses one after another to establish the position of Sri Krishna and in turn Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu descending for like specific purposes, and reaching out to people who are there in different classes, and amongst those who are there, people who reject them, the Mayavadis, the polytheists, and the complete, straight up atheists, foolish and fallen men, dedicated to evil deeds. Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Mahaya Paritagyana. So we'll start on number 10. Well, no, we've done that actually. Number 11. The last one, number 10, was the only the virtuous soul who rejects both mundane happiness and unhappiness is qualified to worship Lord Krishna. Then there's another quote from Bhagavad Gita. The virtuous person whose sins have been destroyed are liberated from illusory happiness and unhappiness, and they worship me with firm resolve. So no kind of motivation. The motivation of happiness to enjoy sense gratification, and the motivation coming from unhappiness to renounce the material world and activities within the material world. And of course, this is directing us to the third alternative, which is bhakti, which is utilizing our senses, our bodies, our whole being as we perceive it in the service of Krishna. And gradually that being transforms. So in the process of Krishna consciousness, our perception of Krishna consciousness is always changing, and our degree of understanding of Krishna consciousness is always changing, and therefore the identity of the self is always changing. So it's always, constantly in flux, and the only stability is the consciousness of service. So taking shelter of that consciousness of service is a natural shelter for the souls who are involved in that kind of heavy transformation, because the death of the ego is painful, as we all know, and it's painful because we're attached to that false self. Anyway, so Guru Maharaj continues on number 11. Surrender to Sri Krishna is the only method of overcoming Maya. So, Sri Krishna prapatir eva Maya taranupaya nanyaha. Prapatir, Krishna prapatir, surrender to Krishna, eva Maya taranupaya, overcoming Maya. That is the only method. Then, from the Gita again, the trimodal deluding energy, Maya, of mind, is practically insurmountable. Only those who surrender unto me can overcome it. So, Bhagavad Gita, I'm not sure of the chapter or the verse, but trimodal deluding energies, that means sattva, rajas, and tamas. And they combine in an infinite number of ways, because there's infinite numbers of degrees of sattva, rajas, and tamas. And we're all a mixture of the three, and everybody's different. So these kinds of trimodal mixtures that are forced upon us, cover over our soul, it's impossible to escape. It's impossible to overcome them. The only way to overcome them is taking shelter of Krishna, surrendering. And those who actually do surrender, they can overcome it immediately. But those who don't surrender, or who surrender are mixed, will still be involved in the temporary material energy. So we try to focus as much as we can on our service, and in that way, by focusing on service, the temporary self becomes secondary and finally is dissolved. So let's do one more. Sorry, I was a little late. So Guru Maharaj, summary of number 12, summary and introduction. Absolute surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna is the purpose of knowledge, jnana. The great souls who realize this truth, that person is exceedingly rare. Absolute surrender, Guru Maharaj says. Sri Krishna prapatir eva shuddha jnana palam iti yanubhavitvir mahatmana sudurlabhatvam. So we all know sudurlabha, very rare. This Mahatma, this great soul, his presence is, his consciousness of realizing the nature of existence is the purpose of Shuddha Jnana, which Shuddha Jnana, Guru Maharaj translates as just the purpose of Jnana. Shuddha Jnana Palam. Palam is the fruit. Shuddha Jnana is pure, pure knowledge, pure following of knowledge. And the consequence of that is Sri Krishna prapatir. We know from Prabhupada Jivanamrita, prapatir is surrender to Krishna. So Guru Maharaj introduces that, telling us that this is the real knowledge. So the knowledge may, manifest through the agency of the mind and intellect in so many different ways. But the idea is true knowledge comes from the soul. It's not produced from the thinking of the mind or the analysis of the intelligence. Rather, it's produced from the surrender that comes within the heart. This is what is being said. And Guru Maharaj again quotes from the Gita and gives a very long translation, which Guru Maharaj basically in his Gita has given, in his translation, a deep explanation also. It's not necessarily word for word, but it's actually a translation as is manifest to the vision in the heart of the Vaishnava who's pure. So this is what Srila Guru Maharaj gives. Having passed through many lifetimes of assiduous spiritual practices, by the influence of sadhu sangha, the association of saints, one attains to knowledge of me, my identity, and thus surrenders utterly unto me. Thereafter, he reaches me and realizes that everything, without exception, is related to Vasudeva. Everything without exception. And thus everything that be is of the nature of Vasudeva. Such a great soul is exceedingly rare. So that when we come to realization of the Absolute, when we get real knowledge, we are able to perceive that everything is Krishna, everything is Vasudeva. Everything comes from him, and everything has to do with our direct relationship with him. And in our case, that direct relationship, isn't possible yet, isn't visible yet, but yet we can begin, to utilize our natural tendency for seeking relationships to begin to develop our real relationship with Krishna by developing our relationship with Sri Guru. That's how it works. Krishna has set it up like that. The Guru is available to engage with us in our development of reciprocal love. That's the function of the Guru. He comes to represent Krishna as the Supreme Beloved. So everyone actually, when you see the pure Vaishnava, when you bow to his lotus feet, there must be some feeling of love. And in turn, when you look up and see his beautiful transcendental form, his lotus feet, and his lotus form, and his lotus eyes, you know that love is coming back in degrees that you can't perceive or understand. This is like how it works. And we have opportunity to give that kind of connection to people, whoever we come in contact with. We can give them a chance. And in order to give them a chance, we have to give them understanding of the possibility of the reality of this and the wonderful results that come from its application, this process of surrender. And the whole thing begins with the Hare Krishna mantra, of course. So we want to stimulate people to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Okay, try 13. A person who has realized his constitutional spiritual nature engages in transcendental devotional service unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Therefore, such a devotee is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. So a very pretty long translation, relatively short Sanskrit, which I'll read. Labdha chit Swarupasyaiva Sri Krishna Parabhakti Atha Sa Nirguna Eva. Nirguna Eva. Transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Parabhakti, this service, which is say something like Parabhakti, is Nirguna Eva Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. It is without contact with the three modes of material nature, and it's of a spiritual nature. And that kind of connection and development of transcendental experience and thereby transcendental form, Sarupasyama, that spiritual nature is engaged in the service of Sri Krishna and becomes transcendental to the three modes of material nature. So pretty, straightforward. We engage in devotional service by the power of that reciprocal exchange. When we act, as on three levels. Everyone must act. Srila Guru Maharaj has said, you act for personal gratification. You act for duty. I must do this for my family. I must do this for my country. I must do this for Krishna. And then finally, we act for love. I sacrifice my, my every day for working for my family. I, sacrifice my time to be with my beloved, my wife, my girlfriend, whatever, my boyfriend. In this way, these things are, always present. But the ultimate, only fulfilling sacrifice is the sacrifice of service unto the lotus feet of Krishna. So again, another Bhagavad Gita verse, Tataiva. By knowledge of the non-differentiated absolute truth, one can achieve self-satisfaction, freedom from lamentation and hankering, and perceive the equality in all beings. And above this, he engages in transcendental devotional service unto me. So knowledge of the non-differentiated absolute truth means, if you look at the universe, there's so many, apparent things around us that are different. But ultimately, everything comes from Krishna. So we believe achintya beda beta tattva. It appears different, but yet actually it's one. And it's not like appearing different in a sense that it's all illusion, but it's different because that's the nature of reality. And in the material world, we experience difference based on our motivated perception. But gradually, through service, that motivated perception transforms into real perception of how Krishna is everywhere, and the only possible function for the living being is to engage in Krishna's service, because there's nothing but Krishna. This is like the beautiful realization of the high soul that Srila Guru Maharaj is describing in perfect, beautiful Sanskrit. So we'll. Did I read that already? The Bhagavad Gita verse? I read it? Okay. So we'll read the shloka, which many people are familiar with. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Na Shochati Na Kankshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. This is one of the verses that we learned in the early days. Srila Prabhupada had us learn it. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Na Sochati Na Kankshati. He has no hankering, no sochati, and no lamentation, kankshati, I believe. Therefore, he sees everything as connected with Krishna, and therefore everything has an equality that overrides, in a way, all the differences. So, that's why we say that Krishna consciousness is the solution to all the problems. Because if we see everyone as, equal in that sense, all as servants engaging in, even in mixed devotion, as servants engaging in attempts to give their, their service and their lives to Krishna, we can see that we're all together, and there's not a competition going on for acquisition of limited, resources. That it seems like these resources are more or less unlimited, but they're really not. And that's why there's the formation of countries and borders and all these different things. Almost necessary for survival in a cutthroat, bloody world where everyone is after acquiring as much as they possibly can. And it's developed into a gigantic structure that has spread all over the world, or has developed simultaneously all over the world. Giant, buildings, giant factories, all this stuff is, actually in the vision of the Vaishnava, it's all like completely unnecessary and completely built out of a motivation to, to dominate the world. So, yeah. Where were we? Oh, yeah, okay. So, again, knowing the absolute truth as one becomes self-satisfied because he knows the nature of who he is. And because he's involved in that, nature, he lives within that nature, he's always satisfied on the level of, how we understand even satisfaction here. He's got that basis for the foundation of existence, and then on top of that basis, there's multiple varieties of transcendental exchange, of which there's the manifestation of separation, which appears like mundane dissatisfaction, mundane unhappiness, but actually it's not. It's completely different because it's built on the foundation of pure sacrifice and pure love. So the experience is wholly different than our experience in the material world. So we have to be careful about transposing our conceptions of our experience within the material world onto the transcendent. But at the same time, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, beginning to perceive how whatever we experience in this world, whatever seems wonderful and beautiful and so nice, actually has that quality because it comes from Krishna. And that's the only reason that quality is there. So, both things are there. The illusory aspect and the aspect of reality. So, real, the material energy is real but temporary. That's our analysis as opposed to the Mayavadi analysis of it's all illusion. It's Achintya Bheda Bheda. It's both we experience the reality of it because Krishna is there. And we also experience the illusory aspect of it because we are in contact with the illusory energy because of our misdirected desires. So Guru Maharaj is giving us the illumination from Krishna himself, from simply the Bhagavad Gita, one of the basis of the text. Like when we say Bhagavad Gita is the basic text, what that means is it forms the foundation. So you have to have, it doesn't mean you overlook it because it's basic, but it forms the foundation on which you build your understanding of everything else. So Bhagavad Gita is essential, and Srila Gurudev showed us that by his own reading of Bhagavad Gita every day. I think he did 1 chapter a day, which was amazing, which I wish I could do, I wish I should do. Okay. Shri Prabhupada Jivanamritam Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswatamat Acharya Brinda Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswatamat Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Okay, where are we? Chapter 8. Adi Lila. So here also we're talking about the results of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and on both levels. The level of like full experience of the chanting, which we just read, involves, or maybe that's the first sloka that we'll read. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, involves so many symptoms that overtake the material temporary form and manifest as symptoms, crying, shaking, so many things like that. Okay. Okay, chanting, we just read, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra without offenses vanquishes all sinful activities. And sinful activities means, activities that are not connected with our service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And everybody has problems with those things. So as devotees, as preachers, we don't see ourselves as being so high and above the people we're preaching to, but rather we feel ourselves we should at least feel ourselves not only equal, but less qualified. Actually, the Vaishnava sees it like that. But so we go out and preach to them in such a way so that they feel like we're their friend. We're not trying to lay a trip on them by thinking we're, higher and better than them. Because, we may have connection with those who really are higher or better than them. And we have connection with something that can help transform them. But we don't know where they've come from, what they're doing. They may have a foundation of spiritual life that we can't perceive, that simply needs to be awakened. And all we have to do is go out there and try to find people like that. And they will be awakened by by just hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, taking prasadam, and sometimes it just takes quantities of these things for people to awaken. And depending on the social and cultural environment, there's different degrees of covering that we have to pierce through by bringing the Hare Krishna mantra into the atmosphere. And in fact, the Hare Krishna mantra does change the entire atmosphere of the country and the world. And, I've practically seen it from, how different it is now in terms of spiritual seeking than it was in the, late 60s, early 70s. There was a lot of, hippies breaking away from the 9-to-5 work job thing, raise a family, have a middle-class house, drive a car, do the same thing every day, and that's success. So a lot of people broke away from that, seeking something else, and but that was a minority, and what they were seeking was very unclear. Now there are millions of people who are seeking, but because a degree of illusion of the material energy and the presence of all kinds of misdirected understandings about the absolute truth that in some ways have contact with with the impersonal Brahman. They have some power and effect, and people are getting caught up in them. So anyway, we can pierce through all that with the Hare Krishna mantra. The Hare Krishna mantra can pierce through anything. We have to, if we have faith in that, then we're safe. It's just we have to develop that faith. Like any kind of, there's so many weird, mundane, subtle energies that can attack us from all levels of existence. It's actually, always going on, no doubt about it. But if we chant Hare Krishna, it pierces through all that. And we are, safe to continue our devotional life. That's why the chanting of Hare Krishna in like the form of japa for an hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, whatever we can set aside, is absolutely essential. Because we have to, cut through those illusory aspects of our existence. And, of course, practical seva also contributes to that. But you can't have one without the other. Okay. So we'll hit text number 27, chapter 8, developing the nature of the Maha Mantra and the nature of Mahaprabhu's descent. When one's transcendental loving service to the Lord is actually awakened, it generates transformations in the body such as perspiration, trembling, throbbing of heart, faltering of the voice, and tears of the eyes. It says this automatically happens when one actually is situated in love of God, but one should not artificially imitate them. Pure devotion must be anyabhilashita shunyam, without desire for anything material. Advanced devotees manifest many of these bodily transformations, but they don't do it for cheap adoration. So the great Vaishnavas don't make a show of their experiences, but the lower level people who, through mystic yoga or some notion of what the higher symptoms are, they make imitation, or in the case of the yogis, actually use their powers for their own personal benefit. So, automatically these symptoms come. They don't have to be like concocted from the mind. And, as we've seen it in India all the time. People who are rolling on the ground and stuff like that, and you can tell they're not pure Vaishnavas, but they have this notion that if they do this, they'll become like that, and most cases it's very like subconscious. They really think they've got it, but they don't. So text 28. Let me read the Bengali. Premera udaya hoya, premera vikara, sveda kampa pulakadi, gagadas rudhara, gada, faltering, right. Ashudara, tears in the eyes. Pulaka adi, throbbing of the heart, and kampa, trembling. Sveda, perspiration. Vikara, transformation. There's an awakening, udaye, and hoya, it becomes so. What does it become? Premera, love. Okay. Text 28. As a result of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one makes such great advancement in spiritual life that simultaneously his material existence terminates and he receives love of Godhead. The holy names of Krishna, the holy name of Krishna is so powerful that by chanting even one name, one very easily achieves these transcendental riches. So such is the nature of the holy name as we hear it here from, Kaviraj Goswami. One name can do it. If we actually absorb it and hear it. So as Srila Sridhar Maharaj has stressed to us, the quality is more important than the quantity. So when we approach, we should chant at least 4 rounds a day, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, however much service we have. And if we don't have that much service, we should do at least 16. And Saraswati Thakur required 64. So that really is there and is necessary because we don't have the holy name, entering into our heart. But if we expose ourselves to it with a conscious effort to receive the holy name as it descends through the sound, even though we are uttering it, if we have that consciousness that it's coming from above, there'll be effect. So we have to consciously meditate on the names and not just slur the names together, thinking we have to finish our rounds because, you just do your rounds and it automatically happens. But there's a clear understanding. You hear Krishna's name, and in that it happens. So, rather than, I keep track of the number of rounds, but rather than chant a specific number of rounds, I chant, some days 1 hour, some days 2 hours, some days 3 hours, by hours. And within those hours, I chant very carefully. And so it winds up, maybe I only do, 4 or 5 rounds in an hour. But, it's concentrated, or at least it's an effort to be concentrated. So the holy name of Krishna is so powerful that chanting even one name very easily achieves these transcendental riches. The termination of material existence and the development of love of Godhead. This is real riches. This is just a weird story, but when I was younger in devotional life, I was in India with this friend of mine who was like a really dyed-in-the-wool businessman. He's a nice devotee, but he was a businessman before, and he was doing business for Krishna, and he really wanted to become a gazillionaire. And so somebody, some mystic guy, we had him read our palms, and my palm said I would become extraordinarily rich. And so this guy thought, I'm going to have to hang around with him. And so he hung around with me for 3 or 4 years. And then it became apparent that, those kinds of riches weren't going to happen because I was always struggling. There was never any riches. But, obviously the riches that was seen is there in the appearance of our beloved gurus. They're the riches. They're the real thing that we get in our lives that has genuine value. Their presence, their kindness, their reaching down to us to pull us out. That's what they do. It's not that we go there and become qualified or something. I mean, there's that aspect of it, but it's not, as we think it is. They're pulling us out, and they're pulling us out by engaging us in regulated devotional service that we take on as a duty because we don't have the nature of love, and we're filled with the, nature of acquisition. So he's pulling us by, placing duty on top of us. And then at a certain stage, one has to begin to transform that idea of forced duty into, volitional activities based on, or beginning to be based on, our own desire to connect with Krishna, the level of reciprocation. Of course, it's there in the beginning also, but it's a different type of devotion. And this is what we come to after some 8, 9, 10 years or less sometimes in devotional life. It becomes necessary to go to that deeper level. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. And so we have to learn to do that. Learn to really take advantage of the riches by learning to just be givers, and not think we're acquiring something for our own aggrandizement, for our own pratishta or kanika or kamini. These things are all pervading in the material world, and we're all entrapped in those things in different degrees. It may be on the surface, it may be under the surface, but we're all entangled in those three acquisitional ideas, and they can only be destroyed by the presence of the holy name. And the presence of the holy name comes through not only our japa, but also through our seva. If we're doing seva, like throwing wood into the fire, if we're thinking this is like my service to Krishna, my service to the temple, my service to my guru, I'm doing this for that. That's Srila Prabhupada told us that's equal to chanting. It's like you can be chanting all day long. And those who are able to function in a way of fully engaging the senses and the mind and the body in devotional service have great fortune and a great opportunity, which I remember I had that, and to some extent I did take advantage of it, or I did enter into it by the early graces of Srila Prabhupada. And later, when I was completely drifting and hopeless by the grace of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and then also after the disappearance of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, a time of not understanding clearly the greatness of Srila Govinda Maharaj, though I had known him before and seen him how in love he was with Srila Guru Maharaj and how sold out he was in his dedication. But he was so withdrawing, he didn't impose his heart connection before the heart connection of his Guru Maharaj. He tried to push his Guru Maharaj forward so that he would enter into everyone's heart, so that they would get the benefit that he got. This was the greatness of Srila Govinda Maharaj, the ideal perfect servant. And by the grace of Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj was given to us, and he, gradually manifested his, guruship, which was 100%, in service to his Guru Maharaj. And as that came out and manifested, it was, irresistible potency, experience, if you came in contact in the right mood. And, we all approached in different moods, and some people really approached deeply and got the great fortune. And other people approached in different degrees and got, some good fortune. But it was the, totality of spiritual experience that he was offering to us. Okay, well, I'll do one more. Did I do that? I guess I didn't do the Bengali. Okay. Anayase bhavakshaya krishnara sevana eka krishna namera pale pai eta dana. Dana, wealth. And pale, the result, the fruit of Krishna namera, taking Krishna's name, chanting Krishna's name, gives Krishnara sevana, the service of Krishna, which bhavakshaya, stops the repeated birth and death, and anayase, without hard labor. So we think this is so hard, but actually, relatively, it's not. It's hard to understand that, but our gurus, Kaviraj Goswami tells us it's like that. We're involved in a very easy process. That it's easy if you're completely surrendered and have a soft heart. You see the soft-hearted devotees are able to bring themselves into a deeper connection with the Lord, and those with harder hearts have more difficulty. And that's my problem. So okay, so we finished that. Krishna Namera Pale, Kaviraj Goswami is telling us like that. What is the actual symptom of the result of chanting the names of Krishna? And that is, pure transcendental service. And, actually, again, it's a Chintya Beda Beda Tattva, because the name is Krishna himself. And when we take that name, it's actually an act of service. In the beginning, we think it's an act of acquisition. We chant the name to get some result. But actually it's really chanting the name to glorify the name. Chanting the name to, give it more or less back to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to our deity, Gauranga Sundar. If we get to chant before Gauranga Sundar, we're offering the service of chanting the holy name to him. That's like what we try for in our meditation, and in that way, chanting the holy name and doing daily active service is on the same level. But at the same time, for those who are like all of us, who are in the level of perception of I am this body, to engage that conscious perceived self in the service of Krishna, functionally, is really important. And Saraswati Thakur saw this, Srila Guru Maharaj saw this, Srila Govinda Maharaj saw this, Srila Acharya Maharaj is seeing this. All of our leading Vaishnava Acharyas are, seeing this and helping us go towards this ideal. So Kaviraj Goswami giving us this, and our beloved gurus giving us the chance to hear from Kaviraj Goswami to enhance our quality of a devotional attempt. This is their mercy. Okay. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Acharya Brinda ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yaraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. And Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Surana. And Sridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Radha Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha. Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Satra Raghunatha. Jai. Jai Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Nirmala Charja Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Jai. Sri Rupananda Guru Varga ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Visvaranya Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Samaveta Vaishnava Mandala ki Jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Hari Nama Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Gaur. Gurudev.